Welcome back to Building Character, where we figure out how to play as your favorite fictional characters in Dungeons & Dragons. Join the Patreon for these character sheets and a whole bunch more, and like and subscribe for more successful rebellions next time you play. Maybe. Today we're building Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger from Rebels, which is underrated. I don't want to start a whole Star Wars discourse thing, but picture the Clone Wars show, except without episodes where Jar Jar Binks goes a dookie-doo in Mace Windu's shoes. Even with that major weakness, it's still pretty good.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone.
Let's start off with Kanan. He's been a Jedi since before Ezra was born. First, we need to do some laser sorting, mostly focusing on defense to make our enemies Sorisu, if they're named Sue. Next, we need the Force, pushing, pulling, mind tricking, and shielding. Finally, hey, I'm gonna do some Rebels spoilers. You wanna go watch Rebels real quick? It's really good, and you can watch it all in like a week. Okay, we need to fight without sight, swinging the sword around without needing your eyes. For stats, we'll be using the standard point array from the player's handbook. Roll for stats if you want, just keep your multi-classing minimums in mind. Wisdom will be number 1. Connecting to the Force is all about a natural connection. Sometimes it uses the other soft stats though. It's just space magic. There isn't really a single soft stat that it has to be. For Kanan though, it's wisdom. Dexterity next. Obviously your saber isn't a heavy weapon, it looks so light, and it's lighter the better you are at using it. Constitution after that. If Form 3 is all about defense, that means you have to tank. Lord knows Chopper isn't going to take a hit for anyone intentionally. Follow that up with intelligence. If you're going to teach someone the history of the Force, it helps to know the history. Charisma is a bit low, you sort of struggle to teach for a bit, but we'll get better later, and we'll dump strength. When you can lift stuff with your brain, you tend to get weaker arms. That's the only thing that stays the same through the Jedi and Sith builds. Kanan is from Coruscant, and since Coruscantian isn't a race in D&D, we have to use custom lineage. It's not like I just want to put +2 in one stat instead of putting +1 in 2 different stats, because the telekinetic feat lets you round up wisdom, gives you mage hand cantrip for free to lift objects weighing 10 pounds or less with a floating spectral hand, and force a strength saving throw on creatures as a bonus action, pushing or pulling them 5 feet with the Force. Put your +2 stats into dexterity for some nice round numbers on the stats I like most for you. Grab animal handling for your skill of choice, and perception and history from your background. Call it the Last Jedi background, not the Last Jedi. Good God, time to turn the comments off. I accidentally said the Last Jedi. The chuds are on the way. Don't think about that. Instead, think about how monks get 2 skills from the monk list, like acrobatics and religion. Then think about how monks can't get perception as one of their skills. That's something to be mad about. Monks get martial arts, letting you make unarmed attacks with your dexterity modifier and make one with your bonus action after you make an attack with a monk weapon as your action. Monk weapons are any simple melee weapon or short swords for a lightsaber. We could get a longer sword later, but I'm not going to spoil what kind of sword it is. Your martial arts die is a d4, so that means your unarmed attacks and monk weapons have to use at least that for their damage die, which is nice. Kanan really mix in a lot of physical punches, a lot more than most other Jedi. Now, you can't be wearing armor, but monks get unarmored defense for free, making your AC 10 plus your dexterity and wisdom modifier when you're not wearing armor. 16 AC at level 1 is really nice, comparable to the chainmail from fighter or paladin, but without disadvantage on stealth. It will even get better at the 2nd level of monk with unarmored movement, making you faster when you're not wearing armor, putting a little force into your feet. You also get key points you can use to do cool Jedi stuff, like Step of the Wind, letting you dash or disengage as a bonus action, and double your jump distance to throw yourself a little bit further. Patient defense is probably the most accurate for Form 3, letting you dodge as a bonus action to give creatures disadvantage on attacks against you, and give yourself advantage on dexterity saving throws to avoid any thermal detonators. Flurry of Blows lets you make 2 unarmed attacks instead of 1 with your bonus action, but I don't think that's really the Kanan move. I'd use patient defense or deflect missiles. Oh, sorry. 3rd level monks get deflect missiles, letting you reduce damage from incoming ranged attacks by 1d10 plus your dexterity and monk level. That part just requires your reaction, but if you drop the damage to 0 and feel like spending a key point, you can smack that ammo back as a monk weapon. It's the most fun when you're just fighting an army that's essentially full of archers. But if an Inquisitor comes rolling around, you'll be glad you're a Kensei monk, letting you pick 2 martial weapons to be Kensei weapons, a ranged weapon and a martial weapon. They just can't have the heavy or 2-handed property. So now you can use a long sword with your dexterity modifier and use it for an agile parry, adding 2 to your AC for the round if you make an unarmed attack as part of your action, or another reason to use your punches instead of the laser sword. Or you could use a hand crossbow blaster if you don't want anyone to know you're a Jedi, and use Kensei shot to add a d4 of the damage to your ranged attacks as a bonus action. The lightsaber is better though. Word's gonna spread pretty fast that the Jedi is still alive. You might as well lean into it. 4th level monks get an ability score improvement. Bump your dexterity up first for better blaster deflection, AC, and lightsaber fighting. You also get slow fall, letting you reduce falling damage by 5 times your monk level as a reaction when you're falling. There is is still gravity in space, but now you don't have to worry about it. 5th level monks get an extra attack, letting you make 2 attacks instead of 1 with your action, or up to 4 with a flurry of blows, but that's not really your thing. Still, your monk die is now a d6, so your punches won't be as big of a drop off from your lightsaber. Not quite as much, anyway. You also get Stunning Strike, letting you force a Constitution saving throw on a creature you hit with a weapon attack, stunning them until the end of your next turn if they fail. It costs a key point, but it will give Ezra his sneak attack. Oh, we haven't gotten there yet. Stay tuned, gamers. 6th level Kensei monks get actual magical swords thanks to magical Kensei weapons, making your Kensei weapons magical in terms of overcoming resistances. You also get key-empowered strikes to put the force into your fists and to your feats, but Deft Strike is cooler, letting you spend a key point to add a monk die to the damage of a Kensei weapon attack so you can keep up with your Padawan in terms of Stormtrooper murder. 7th level monks get evasion, letting you take half damage on failed dex saves and no damage on successful ones. Failing is still possible, but it would have to be a really big explosion, like a whole oil tanker or something. Stillness of Mind lets you get rid of an effect of charming or frightening as an action on your turn. Fear does lead to anger, and that leads to multi-classing to Barbarian, and we don't have the strength for that multi-class. 8th level monks get another ability score improvement. I'll actually say we should push the wisdom up, since that's what we're using for the force. After all, that's what the force is all about, balance. We'll throw that all out the window when we jump to Ranger, letting you grab another skill like Insight and a favorite enemy, letting you pick a type of creature you have advantage on tracking. Humanoids would help you find the Sith, but beasts are also a decent option for Kanan. Canny will give you expertise in a skill of your choice, doubling your proficiency bonus with it. We'll go for Perception. Your senses are so sharp, you could basically throw one of them away and still be fine, especially at 2nd level of Ranger when you get a fighting style like Blind Fighting, giving you blind sight within 10 feet of you, and even invisible creatures can't hide from you in that area. You also get some Ranger spells like Hunter's Mark, letting you pick a creature to deal an extra d6 of damage to with your weapon attacks, and you have advantage on checks to track that creature for an hour depending on your concentration, basically making your longsword better than a greatsword. Jump triples your jump distance for a minute, or sextuples it with a step of the wind. Big force jumps are really the only thing I want higher strength for on this build, and this will cover that nicely. 3rd level Rangers can choose a Ranger Conclave. Fey Wanderers get Otherworldly Glamour, letting you add your wisdom modifier to charisma checks, and you get a charisma skill of your choice like Persuasion. Eventually, Kanan figures out how to relate to his pupils. It's after Darth Maul slashes his eyes off. I guess that was a really eye-opening experience for him. You also get Dreadful Strikes, letting you add a d4 of extra psychic damage to one weapon attack against a creature per turn. So if you're fighting multiple people, hit multiple people, use multiple d4s. Obviously, a lightsaber should be dealing radiant damage, but remember that a lightsaber channels the energy of the user, so it should be force, and that's also not psychic. You get Charm Person, forcing a wisdom saving throw on a creature. Failing that, they're charmed by you for an hour. You do not care that Dreadful Strikes had psychic damage instead of radiant. Did that work? No, you're still mad. 4th level Rangers get another ability score improvement, cap off your wisdom modifier to maximize your mastery of the force. We'll maximize that further by jumping to Druid, a full casting class. That'll teach you Druidic, a secret language that only other druids can speak, letting you bond with Groot and Maui at the Disney Mixer. But we're mostly here for spells and cantrips like Guidance and Resistance, which give an ally a d4 for ability checks or saving throws, making your Padawan a little safer. For 1st level spells, Long Strider adds 10 feet to a creature's movement speed. Pairing it with your unarmored movement will make you feel like we didn't multi-class as much. Detect Magic senses magical auras and type of magic causing them. Necromancy is a thing to watch out for. Real nasty stuff. Animal Friendship is a nice kind of magic, forcing a wisdom saving throw on an animal. Failing that, they're charmed by you for 24 hours. Space animals are still animals. Thunderwave forces a Constitution saving throw on creatures in a 15-foot cube in front of you, dealing 2d8 thunder damage to those that fail and pushing them back 10 feet. Half damage and no pushing if they succeed. It's a nice way to put some oomph on your force push. Finally, Absorb Elements lets you give yourself resistance to acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage as a reaction when you get hit with that type of damage, then add a d6 of that damage to your next attack. With resistance to fire damage and half damage from failed dex saves on evasion, it would take a pretty big explosion to kill you, so I wouldn't worry about that. We're multi-classing spellcasters here, so check page 165 of the player's handbook to figure out how many spells you have at any given level. 2nd level druids will get to choose a druid circle, and if you're in the stars, what about the Circle of the Stars? That'll give you the Guiding Bolt spell for free, letting you fire a ranged spell attack that deals 4d6 radiant damage and gives the next creature to attack that target advantage, so Sabine will get her sneak attack on. That's a spoiler for a build I haven't written yet, but I'm probably putting rogue levels on Sabine. You also get to cast this for free an amount of times per day equal to your proficiency bonus, then later with spell slots, also helpful for when you want to use a blaster to hide your religious affiliations. But for the patented Kanan Laser Blast sword combo, get Starry Form. The Archer can shoot a radiant attack that deals 1d8 plus your wisdom modifier as a bonus action. Chalice That's the one I really want. Chalice lets you heal another creature, but you don't have any healing, so don't sweat that. And the Dragon will let you set your minimum for intelligence checks, wisdom checks, and constitution saves to 10. These use your wild shape, which you could also use to turn into a wolf, but that would be weird if you just turned into a wolf. Third level druids can learn second level spells. Hold person forces a wisdom saving throw on a humanoid. Failing that, they're paralyzed for up to a minute, depending on your concentration. Hera is gonna love that with her sneak attack. Okay, so Ezra is a rogue, Sabine is a rogue, now Hera is a rogue. I am a rogue. Are there any other rogues on the Phoenix Squadron I should know about? Enhanced ability gives a creature advantage on skill checks of a certain type. If you choose strength, they get double the carrying capacity. Dexterity means they don't take falling damage from heights of 20 feet or less. Constitution gives them 2d6 temporary HP, and wisdom gives them +5 passive perception. That's because they'd have advantage on perception checks. It doesn't stack, but it's worth mentioning. Locate animals and plants lets you know where some flora or fauna is in case you want to meet some loth wolves. Locate object lets you find a vague object or specific object if you want to use the force to find your lightsaber. Just store it in the same place every time, then you won't forget. 4th level druids get an ability score improvement. Cap off your dexterity modifier for 20 base AC or 22 with an agile parry. Using patient defense will make you a real pain in the butt to hit. 5th level druids get 3rd level spells, and I really only want one. That's fine because we're probably having too many 2nd level spells. Protection from energy gives a creature resistance to acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage for an hour depending on your concentration. Haha, joke about Kanan dying, but he died because he was casting this on Hera, not himself. So, you know, you dingus. 6th level star druids get a cosmic omen, a little tip from the force to tell you how things are going to go. You can roll a d6 at the start of the day. If you roll even, you get the wheels. If you roll odd, you get the woes. Wheels let you use your reaction to add a d6 to an ability check, saving throw, or attack roll of a creature within 30 feet of you. Woe lets you subtract it, support your team, or detract from your enemies. However you use it, you get a number of d6s equal to your proficiency bonus per long rest. For more divination, hit 7th level of druid for 4th level spells, like divination. This lets you ask your DM a question about something that will happen in the next 7 days, and they have to answer that question instead of saying, I don't know, do you think you would live a refinery explosion? Charm monster forces a wisdom saving throw on a creature of any type, charming them for an hour. If they fail, stormtroopers are so boring. Get a giant bat monster as your ally instead. Our capstone is the 8th level of druid for one last ability score improvement. Grab resilient for constitution, adding 1 to the score to round it up and to give you 20 more HP, and to give you proficiency with the saving throw for +6 to all your concentration saves, helping you keep up whatever buffs you like using. Now that we've hit level 20, let's figure out how viable this build is. First, you are great at avoiding damage with 20 base AC, 22 if you use an agile parry, and a plethora of other defensive options. You're also great at supporting the team with wheel and woe to help your team, and multiple methods of giving them advantage on attacks or ability checks. Finally, your damage is nice and consistent with extra attack, hunter's mark, and dreadful strikes, not to mention magical weapons to avoid resistances. For weaknesses, you have too many concentration spells and can only have one up at a time, even if you're pretty good at using them. You're also missing out on some of the best stuff for monk because of all that multi-classing. Diamond Soul and Empty Body are no joke some of the best abilities in the game. Finally, even if you're tricky to hit, you've only got around 120 HP, so you might die pretty quickly to bigger damage, but you've got the force, so you can never truly die. Deflect those lasers, swing your magic sword, and keep the damage off your team. Just make sure you've got a solid Padawan to bridge that gap to the next generation.
I'll have your hands for a trophy, street rat!
All this for a loaf of bread?
Whoa! Let's start off with our goals for this build. First, we need a laser sword, but unlike most laser swords, this one will also sort of be a laser gun. Next, we need backup. Ezra struggles to empathize with animals at first, but gosh dang, he gets real good at it. Finally, we need to be a little street rat. Ezra is basically Aladdin with a lightsaber instead of a genie. I'd prefer a genie. For stats, we'll be using the standard point array from the player's handbook. Roll for stats if you want, just keep your multi-classing minimums in mind. Dexterity will be number 1. Before you become a Jedi, you're basically just a thief. Intelligence next. If you build your own sci-fi weapons and steal them from the Empire, it helps to have a good handle on technology. Wisdom after that. Both cats love you for some reason. Apparently cats love you when you're force sensitive. I am force sensitive. Follow that up with Constitution. You're not quite as tough as your mentor, but fighting the Empire isn't for the faint of heart. Charisma is a bit low. You're kind of a brat, but we're gonna dump strength. You know how you're supposed to lift with your legs and not your back? Well, if you have the force, that's even better than your legs. Ezra is from Loth, and Loth officially has humans, unlike Coruscant. So we'll make him a variant human. For your feat, skilled, we'll give you 3 skills of your choice, like performance, investigation, and persuasion. Ezra is kind of the main character, so he needs to be kind of good at everything. And if I make another bard, I think there would be blood in the streets. So this will handle that. Bump your dexterity and wisdom with your 2 free points. Take deception for your skill of choice, and the street rat background for animal handling and perception. That's not a real background, but any background is a real background. Custom backgrounds are in the player's handbook. This isn't new. We'll kick things off as a rogue to get some extra skills right away, like acrobatics, athletics, stealth, and sleight of hand. That'll help you pilfer things from the Empire and make them the property of Ezra Bridger. Expertise will double your proficiency bonus with 2 skills you're proficient with. I'll go for animal handling and perception. We're not going to be able to invest in wisdom as much as I'd like. You also get sneak attack to add a d6 of extra damage when you have an ally within 5 feet of your target, or advantage on the roll. See, told you Ezra would have sneak attack. It was like a force premonition. Second level rogues get some speed thanks to cutting action, letting you dash, disengage, or hide as a bonus action, which should help you get away from the Empire unscathed. Third level rogues can choose a roguish archetype, and thieves are good at robbing people thanks to fast hands, letting you make a sleight of hand check to pick a lock or use an object as a bonus action. Though that's not robbery. Robbery involves threat. You just grab stuff and run away. To run up a building, use second story work to get a climbing speed up to your normal speed, and add your dexterity modifier to the distance of a running long jump. That will kind of make up for your low strength score, though not as much as something we'll get later. You also get 2d6 sneak attack damage here to help you ambush those stormtroopers. Fourth level rogues get an ability score improvement. Bump your dexterity modifier up to be better with a lightsaber once we build one. To build one, jump to Artificer, which start off with magical tinkering, letting you put tiny magical effects into tiny non-magical items, little messages, static images, that kind of thing. You also get spells and cantrips like mending to put two things back together or fix a crack in something in case you need to do some repairs on the Phantom. Mage Hand lets you lift tiny objects weighing 10 pounds or less with a floating spectral hand for some basic force lifting. For first level spells, Featherfall lets you prevent falling damage for up to 5 falling creatures as a reaction, so Hera, Chopper, Zep, John, and Amanda will be safe. Catapult lets you throw an object with a force, then force a dexterity saving throw on a creature, dealing 3d8 bludgeoning damage if they fail. It's a little telekinetic force yeet, everything a growing Jedi needs. Second level artificers get to make infusions. Enhanced weapon adds 1 to the attack and damage rolls of a weapon and makes it magical in terms of overcoming resistances. It's sad that artificers get something better than magical Kensei weapons 4 levels earlier, but I guess we took 6 levels to get here, so no big deal. Repeating shot makes a ranged weapon magical and adds 1 to the attack and damage rolls. It also doesn't need ammo or reloading for a wrist rocket that just keeps going. Sending stones are little stones that you can use to communicate with if you want to talk to Hera while you're in the gunner seat. An enhanced defense adds 1 to the AC of a set of armor. Doesn't have to be the heaviest armor, could just be leather stuff. Third level artificers can choose a specialty, and if you want to copy Kanan's laser sword attack in the same round technique, Artillerist will help you do that. You can make an Eldritch Cannon, which is tiny or small. Go for tiny to make it fit in your hand. If you make a Force Ballista, it fires a ranged spell attack that deals 2d8 force damage and pushes a creature 5 feet away. That's the most in character option. Protector isn't bad either, giving creatures a d8 plus your intelligence modifier and temporary HP within 10 feet of you, or you can make a flamethrower, but that's more of a Sabine thing. You also get 2 spells for free. Shield adds 5 to your AC as a reaction, helping you block with the Force, and Thunderwave forces a Constitution saving throw on creatures in a 15-foot cube, dealing 2d8 thunder damage and pushing them back if they fail, half damage and no pushing if they succeed. It's the same as it was for Kanan, it hasn't changed, but hey, maybe someone skipped right to the Ezra section. Hi, how are you? Please go watch the Kanan section. Watch time is important. Fourth level artificers get another ability score improvement, cap off your dexterity right away. You're still mostly using your lightsaber and your gun. We'll invest in intelligence more in a bit. For now, 5th level artillerists get an arcane firearm, letting you add a d8 of damage to 1 spell per round that you cast, making your force push a little stronger. Or you could use Scorching Ray to shoot 3 lasers in the same round, dealing 2d6 fire damage from each. The d8 would only go onto 1 of those damage die, but it's still a nice rapid fire laser. That's free from artillerists, but you could also grab Levitate to lift objects weighing 500 pounds or less and move them 20 feet on future turns with your action. If the object isn't a creature who doesn't want to go for a ride, they can make a Constitution saving throw to resist, but if you're just lifting Sith doors with Darth Maul, you're good to go. 6th level artificers get tool expertise, letting you double your proficiency bonus with tool checks you're proficient with. That will help you craft your best lightsaber, or maybe you could call it a radiant weapon. That adds 1 to the attack and damage rolls of a weapon. It sheds bright light in a 30-foot radius and can force a Constitution saving throw on creatures who attack you as a reaction, blinding them if they fail. Wait, maybe I should have given this to Darth Maul. The reason it's not a Sunblade is because I'm not your DM, and I don't know that, and that's not an option for Artificer, so I can't give you that. Hope that makes sense, everyone. Gloves of Thievery add 5 to your sleight of hand check, so it's pretty much like you have expertise in that skill as well. 7th level Artificers get Flash of Genius, letting you add your intelligence modifier to an ability check or saving throw of a creature within 30 feet of you as a reaction. Despite how inexperienced you are, your plans are actually pretty good sometimes. 8th level Artificers get another ability score improvement. Get that intelligence modifier higher to be better with the Force. Wait, with Kanan, I said the Force was wisdom. We better multi-class to Druid, just like your master. That makes sense. You get Druidic, letting you speak the secret language of the Druids so you can talk to Maleficent and Ventus at the Disney Mixer, but we're really here for spells and cantrips. Cantrips like Gust to push people by forcing a strength saving throw on them. Failing that, they're pushed back 5 feet. It's supposed to be wind, that's why it's called Gust, but it's effectively the same thing as a force push. Guidance gives a creature a d4 to add to an ability check. When Kanan is gone, you're the Jedi on the team. You've got to give the vague but helpful speeches. For first level spells, Long Strider and Jump are some nice physical buffs, adding 10 feet to your movement speed and tripling your jump distance respectively. Detect Magic lets you sense magical auras so you can figure out where the time portal is. Animal Friendship forces a wisdom saving throw on a beast. Failing that, they're timed by you for 24 hours. Speak with Animals lets you speak with animals for 10 minutes if you'd rather rather roll a persuasion check than animal handling. I mean, it's probably still going to be animal handling. Hopefully it is. You're better at that. Second level druids can choose a circle. Unlike your master, you're a bit more likely to call in some backup. Shepherd druids get speech of the woods, letting you speak Sylvan and speak to beasts with simple ideas. Nothing too complicated for the space whales, though. You also get a spirit totem, letting you summon one of 3 force ghosts to help you out. A bear spirit gives allies 5 plus your druid level in temporary HP and advantage on strength checks and saves. A hawk spirit lets you give a creature advantage with your reaction on an attack roll, and your allies will have advantage on perception checks. And the unicorn gives creatures advantage to find creatures and empowers any healing, but you don't have any healing, so don't sweat that one. The aura is 30 feet in radius, and you can use it once per short rest. You can also wild shape, but that's not really in character, so use wild companion instead, letting you cast find familiar for a spiritual animal buddy like a loath cat. Third level druids get second level spells like enhance ability, giving a creature advantage on ability checks of a certain type. If you choose strength, their carrying capacity is doubled. If you choose dexterity, they don't take falling damage from heights of 20 feet or less. And if you choose constitution, they get 2d6 temporary HP. However, if you feed someone the force, it lasts for an hour depending on your concentration. Hold person paralyzes a humanoid that fails a wisdom saving throw for a minute depending on your concentration, so Zeb can get his brutal criticals off. I'll probably make him a barbarian, probably. Fourth level druids get another ability score improvement. Pump your intelligence higher. I think that's going to be more important for the force than your wisdom. Hold person is nice, but it's kind of a force choke. Levitate is more light-sidey. Fifth level druids can learn third level spells. Conjure animals summons some animals. 1 of challenge rating 2 or lower, 2 of challenge rating 1 or lower, 4 of challenge rating 1/2 or lower, or 8 of challenge rating 1/4 or lower. They just sort of show up out of nowhere, and your DM decides what they are. I'm crossing my fingers for space whales, but if I'm your DM, just bring some pre-rolled beasts based on character sheets and save me the time. I'd appreciate it. 6th level shepherd druids are mighty summoners, giving your summoned animals 2 more HP for every one of their hit die, and their attacks are magical in terms of overcoming resistances, helping them put a dent in star destroyers. 7th level druids get 4th level spells. Divination lets you get a little forced premonition, letting you ask your DM how things are going to go in the next 7 days, but it could still be vague, especially if your party has someone playing Chopper. I swear to God, that thing is a Loki variant. Charm monster forces a wisdom saving throw on a monster, charming them for an hour if they fail, letting you get some weirder space stuff on your team, even if your DM doesn't count the space whales as beasts. Our capstone is the 8th level of druid for an ability score improvement. Cap off your intelligence modifier since your only real extra attack is a ranged spell attack from your eldritch cannon. Even that requires a bonus action. Is this bad? No. Now that we've hit level 20, let's figure out how viable this build is. First, you have a ton of skills. The skilled feat pairing with rogue to make you a very versatile problem solver. You're also loaded with consistent magical damage, with a lot of variety to maybe even take advantage of some vulnerabilities. Finally, you're really good at stealing things, with massive pickpocketing skills thanks to Gloves of Thievery and tool expertise. For weaknesses, it's a little messy. You got 2 casting modifiers because we needed to conjure animals. Also, conjuring animals isn't great late game. The highest CR beast you can summon is level 2. Level 20 Sith will delete that in 1 turn. Finally, all that messy multiclassing stopped you from getting an extra attack, which feels bad on a martial fighter. Thankfully, you have a ton of other variety and an eldritch cannon if you really want to roll 2 attacks per round. Play Kanan if you want to absorb the damage up front. Play Ezra if you want to do a little bit of everything else. Of course, you should have a few more party members, otherwise you could get thrown for a loop. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe for more. We're making double videos every day this month. Join the Patreon for this character sheet and a whole bunch more, and sub to Tulok and Mango for more Tulok fun.